I feel like Jaylen Brown's getting a bigger dosage of the credit for Boston than he should. I feel like there's a lot more going into it than what Jaylen Brown is doing. Not saying he's not great. I think him being on the list at 10, whatever, I think that's fine. I think that makes sense. But I feel like people are attributing, because he's the leading scorer on the team, because he's the best player on the team. There's some people saying he's not the best player on the team. I think that's going too far the other way. But I feel like the impact that Joe Mazzulla's had, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, the fact that they don't turn the ball over, the fact that they rebound at the rate they do, and then you have Jaylen Brown, who can be like their consistent half-court presence. They're giving too much of the credit for Boston's overall infrastructure and team success to what Jaylen Brown's doing, when I would argue that it goes down to more of the marginal areas are probably what wins them more games.
I think Mars is right about Jaylen Brown. He's having a really good season, but you cooked with everything they're doing on the margins to create value there. Like, they're plus 14 net in the minutes that Jaylen Brown is off the court. They're dominating the minutes when he's off the court because of all the things Mars said, the offensive rebounding, their ability to limit turnovers, the fact that they have a lot more ball handling, and they have so much shooting overall. And Mazzulla is just like great. So if you're telling me you take one guy off the team, who falls apart more without that one guy? Clearly it's Steph Curry, whose team is like 6-11 when he's out, as opposed to Jaylen Brown's team, who still dominates the minutes when he's
off the court. Carson, that's fair. The question that I have, though, is how often is Jaylen Brown off the court? Because to your point, yes, I can definitely appreciate them being a plus 14 with Jaylen Brown. You said a plus 4? Okay, so I think he's only missed 3 games this year. And I think he's averaging something like 34 minutes a game, something like that, 34, 35 minutes a game. So he's playing a lot. So those minutes in terms of net rating and the amount of time that he's off the floor, that's not a lot. So it's not like he's off the floor for 12 straight minutes. He's off the floor 2 minutes here. He's off the floor for 3 minutes here. So that really doesn't hold a lot of weight to me, as opposed to if he was missing games like 6-7 games, or he was off the floor for 10 games, right? If he was off the floor for 10 games.
Season, it's still a big enough sample size.
I can appreciate that.
I want to be clear. I'm obviously not saying that they're better without.
And he does contribute to the margins too, Carson. But don't leave that part out. Jaylen Brown, 100%
turnover player.
Yes, he does. But he's also one of their better rebounders. In addition to being one of their better rebounders, he's one of their better distributors. In terms of loose ball stuff like that, like coming up with loose balls, coming up with big rebounds, these are the margin stuff that we're talking about. And he is a huge part of that.
Responsibility for this team. I mean, there's a lot of wings on this team whose job is basically to crash the offensive glass, do all the dirty work. And I think they're really good at that. And I think they're just better than they get credit for. And I think because nobody expected the Celtics to be this good, and Jaylen's having such a great season, a lot of people are just going to the place of like, what an incredible season Jaylen Brown is having carrying this team. When in reality, I think this team was just always a lot better than I expected, than I think we all expected. I do think it's more of a collective achievement.
You believe in championship DNA, right?
There was one person that said that the Celtics, and then there was also another person that said Jaylen Brown.
Well, because my thing is, like, we turn to the basketball tons of times in order to try to diminish Jaylen Brown's impact. Because that's cool and all, but that's not what this is about. Okay, this isn't about how good are my teammates. This is about how good is Jaylen Brown
and how good is Jaylen Brown.
So what? And I got Steph Curry on my list.
You're right. So
I think so. I'm not arguing against Steph Curry. What I'm saying is, saying that he has Jaylen Brown's teammates, because Peyton Pritchard's doing his job. Peyton Pritchard is a hell of a basketball player. Derek White's playing great. They have a really good basketball team. Coach Mazzulla did a good job putting in an offense that works and functions without Jason Tatum. I understand all these things, but none of that being said has anything to do with how good Jaylen Brown is playing basketball. And that's what this list is about. Right. How good is Jaylen Brown playing? Yes, for the 10 to 12 minutes he's not playing in the game, the team is still functioning. But that doesn't diminish what Jaylen Brown's
impact
at all.
But it's past functioning, though, Ox. They're thriving with
But even that, I get what you're saying. I agree. I was only making the argument because I hear a lot of people talk about Jaylen Brown as if he's got. But for him as a player, I still think the flaws that he's always had are still present. The turnover stuff is real.
Right.
I'm on hot take. His defense has not been as good as you guys tried to tell me. This year,
really, Mars?
His defense has not been that great this year, in my humble opinion. So I'm looking at, from a roster's perspective, Derek White has probably been their most consistent high-minute player defensively. Kate has been really good on defense. Jordan Walsh has been good on defense. And their rookie, Hugo Gonzalez.
He's been really good. Yes, he has.
Really, really good defense. Like, there's a lot of guys who not only I trust on the ball more because of the offensive burden Jaylen Brown has, but also just away from the ball, way more active, forcing turnovers, way more productive away from the ball. Like, Jaylen Brown's probably been like Boston's like fifth best defender.
But to be fair, because we can't do that to him. That doesn't mean he's a bad defender.
Yeah, I agree. But to the idea that like,
I think that's.
I'm not gonna say I wouldn't give him the two-way label, but the defense definitely hasn't been. He's not been producing.
He hasn't been.
Like, wait a minute, Moss. Can I counter that?
Yeah, like he's not hurting you on defense.
No, he's not. But to your point, Moss, can I counter that with guys like Gonzalez, guys like not Derek White, but guys like Pritchard? Okay, that's in short spurts. Like Jaylen Brown is on the floor for a long period of time.
But doesn't mean you're playing defense the whole time.
It doesn't mean that, but it does mean that out here, when I'm out here, I am very effective. It's not that big of a deal. You Gonzalez, for example, you're on the floor for 10 minutes. If you're on the floor for 10 minutes, you look a lot different than you on the floor for 30 minutes if you're chasing around, I don't know, Kawhi Leonard, if you're chasing around Scotty Barnes,
100%.
As opposed to, really quickly, as opposed to if I'm on the floor for 30 minutes, well, I got to deal with Pascal Siakam in the meat and potatoes of the game. Well, Gonzalez is going to look a lot different if he only played 8 minutes.
Right.
As opposed to Jaylen Brown, who's on the floor for 32 minutes.
OG,
I might be a little bit late on the rotation. I'm sorry.
OG, let's be honest. Can we be honest about Jaylen Brown, y'all?
Please.
Let's be honest. Look, we are in February, right? It's All-Star Weekend. Jaylen Brown performed at a top 10 level for 1 month this year, and that was decent.
That's it?
He was a top 10 player for 1 month.
Which month was that?
That was the month where he was cooking Kawhi. When he had the 50 and all that.
That's January?
That was
January.
That may have been January, early January, but he was cooking in December.
When he said he should have been player of the month.
Yeah, he was, player of the month, but he had 1 month.
I think he played better than that.
I wouldn't say all that. It's just, I think he started the season really well, and I think people were pleasantly surprised because people thought he wouldn't be able to score without Jason Tatum. I think that was crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say I expected him to average 30, whatever he's averaging, but I never viewed him as a beneficiary of Jason Tatum. If anyone was, it was gonna be like a Derek White, for example, who's having like his worst scoring season. But Jaylen Brown got his offense in a way that most one options got their offense anyway. Yeah, because it was a lot of self creation, a lot of transition stuff. You see him now; it's a lot of self creation, a lot of transition stuff. He's basically operating in the same play types, just on higher volume, and Joe Mazzulla's done a good job of creating him some advantages. But like offensively, he's pretty much what you thought he was. The flaws are the same, the strengths are the same, just on higher volume. And then defensively, he's probably dialed it back a little bit because of the offensive burden. But that player last year, I wasn't that high on. So my opinion of Jaylen Brown hasn't swayed heavily either way. It's kind of just what I thought he was.
I think also like the crazy jump shooting we were seeing from him for that stretch in December, like that stuff has come back to earth where now it's like, you mentioned the high turnovers. Yes, his passing has gotten better. He's still obviously not a natural playmaker. And then the scoring efficiency is below average. Like it's literally below league average true shooting right now. Obviously, he's got a huge creation burden. But like the thing with me is it's not really any knock on Jaylen Brown. It's just the bar to be a top 10 player is so high right now. And I don't think he's quite there when you consider some of the offensive flaws that he does have. Still a very good offensive player. I just don't see like the slight plus defense offsetting the huge offensive gap in favor of a Steph Curry.
I just thought that I was looking at something completely different before the season started, Mars. To your point, when Jason Tatum was out of the lineup, okay, all the stuff that he didn't have to do when Jason Tatum was there, okay, he's going to have to do that more. And all of his flaws were going to get compounded by everybody else. And that actually didn't happen. He was actually a better ball handler than what I thought he was going to be. He was a better jump shooter than what I thought he was going to be. He was actually better on defense. I had him averaging like 22 a game this year. Oh, and wow. I had him averaging like 22 a game.
Well,
I would argue that's more of a hidden agenda.
That's a huge problem.
And the reason why is because I thought he played really well off of Jason Tatum. I thought that the offense, the way it was constructed, I thought that him being in that offense and his flaws, it would just get magnified and he wouldn't be able to do a lot of the stuff that he's able to do, only except he completely surprised me with that.
Similar to like the plus 14 net stuff, which obviously take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But Jason, I'm pretty sure, I don't have it on hands, obviously.
Sure.
We're here. I'm pretty sure if you look at like Jaylen Brown's numbers over the past previous years, when Jason Tatum's off the floor, they're pretty much in line with what he's doing this season. So like the indicators that he could pretty much do this have always been there. It's just it's been in smaller dosages, smaller samples. But Jaylen Brown has shown, I think, over the years that he can score on high volume, valid efficiency. Because it's not elite efficiency, but also like you got to take into account the burden he is carrying. So it's fine. And then the defense is what it is. And then like the playmaking is cool. I don't want to take it as hating on Jaylen Brown. I'm more so just making the argument that Steph and KD should be on the top 10 list.
Chill, when you said that you were like so surprised by Jaylen Brown, I think we really do take guys like Steph and KD that year after year greatness for granted. Like, you're not going to be moved. You're not going to be like, oh my God, how is Steph doing that? Because you know it's a given every single year.
Yeah.
I just think, like, if you're factoring in availability, okay, that's just not how I view a top 10 list. I'm always thinking when you're healthy, when you're on the court, who's delivering the most value. No doubt in my mind, Steph Curry still delivers more value than Jaylen Brown.
Well, it does matter. The reason why the availability matters is because of the consistency. Like, if I only got you for a month, if I got you for a month and a half and you're playing great, okay, that works. As opposed to if I got this guy for 2 or 3 months straight and I'm getting consistent basketball, that definitely matters. And to Real Talk's point about overrating, Mars and I had this conversation, I want to say a year ago. I already thought that Jaylen Brown was around top 15. Mars was ready to jump through the screen on me. I already thought that Jaylen Brown was in that space of being around a top 15 player. That's why I moved him up, considering everything that they were doing. But you do have me. Steph Curry has actually been like 27 a game, and I'm poo-pooing at it like it's really nothing.
Yeah, well, see, Steph Curry absolutely, like, he belongs on this list, right? But see, I want to piggyback on what you said a moment ago, because you guys brought up how you're surprised by this player, but you're not surprised by Kevin Durant or Steph Curry. Well, I'm not surprised by Jaylen Brown at all, because I've been trying to tell y'all for 3 years that this is who we
He's been on this side.
I've been trying to tell y'all for 3 seasons already that Jaylen Brown is that guy.
Yeah, he has been.
You know what I mean? So that's why maybe I don't give him that extra boost, because I thought he was this good.
Yeah, he has been.
All right, and
you've always been delusional. That's fine.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. With a check, throw smoke, and the host go ham. You ain't never seen hoops out hit the raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. This that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.